Well, the wait is over, Habs fans. Cole Caufield has inked his contract extension. Whew! And boy, what an extension it was. What did the final number come to? And how close was I with my prediction? Let's find out. There are a lot of things that are kind of up in the air in this offseason for the Habs. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? Who's that number 5 draft selection going to be at the end of the month of June? But one of the most pressing questions for Habs fans, for people in the media, and everyone around the hockey world was, what was Cole Caufield's extension going to look like? And we finally have an answer for that. So today on the show, we're just going to break down how exactly Cole Caufield's contract extension shaped up. We're also going to go back in time a couple of months to when I put out here on this channel my prediction for what Cole Caufield's contract extension would look like, and we'll see if I got anywhere in the ballpark or not. And then you want to stick around for the end of today's video because I've got a bit of a channel update of some exciting things going on here at Habs Hockey Report that you don't want to miss. So, Cole Caufield finally got the signature done. His camp, his agent, and the Montreal Canadiens finally reached a place in their negotiations where everybody felt comfortable, everybody felt happy, and put pen to paper, got the deal done. And it's going to ensure that there will be plenty of Caufield Suzuki content coming for a long time to come. Cole Caufield inking an 8-year contract extension. There were plenty of folks out there, fans and media members alike, who speculated, would he take a bridge deal until they make sure, for a few years that he's going to have the longevity, that he's going to continue to produce and be what we saw from him in the first half of the year this year, if that was going to be repeatable for a number of years. But no, I think the Montreal Canadiens actually wanted to go term, and I think that Caufield's camp obviously wanted to go term as well. So I'm going to put up here from the good folks over at Cap Friendly. Here is the breakdown for Cole Caufield's contract. It is a $7.85 million 8-year contract extension. 7.85 AAV, really not too shabby for a kid who is Cole Caufield's age. You see there in the 8-year breakdown that comes out to roughly just under $5 million per year in years 1 and 2, with a $5 million signing bonus in years 1 and 2. In year 3, he gets almost $10,000 in pure salary alone. Year 4, that drops down to $8.7 million. Year 5, $6.2. And then the final 3 years of his contract, $5.985 million per year. And you'll see that he has a graduated no trade clause the final 3 years of the contract. So in year 6, there's a 15-team no trade clause that drops to a 10-team NTC in year 7. And in the final year of his contract, a 5-team NTC that is going to stick him around. Guys, we're talking about, like 2030, 2031. It's a long time from now. And I think it's a fair deal for Cole Caufield. I think it's an excellent deal for the Montreal Canadiens. They saved a little bit of money. They went just under what Nick Suzuki signed for back in 2021. So he's making slightly less than the captain. And I'm actually pleased that they did that. It would have been easy to throw as much money as possible at Cole Caufield because of the overall league-wide kind of superstar that he's become. But I think it's very respectful to the captain, in my honest opinion, that they kept him just slightly under Suzuki. It also shows that Cole Caufield was willing to kind of play ball a little bit and say, maybe I wanted more than that, but I like the length of the contract. I want to be in Montreal. And so, yes, I'm happy with that. In fact, a couple of months ago, right here on this show, I laid out my prediction on what I thought would happen with the Cole Caufield contract. Let's go back and see what I said. So I'm guessing that negotiations are going to come in somewhere close to Suzuki, but enough to keep Cole Caufield's camp happy. I'm predicting an 8-year deal at about $65 million. That's an $8.125 million AAV. That puts him over the $8 million a year mark without being a wildly enormous contract. And I do think that there'll be the modified NTC as well on the back end of it. So I'm going to say that I'm actually pretty pleased with how that prediction came out. I did not hit the nail right on the head because I honestly thought that they would pay him more than Suzuki. I said that I thought that his camp would want something closer in the, overall kind of the $70 to $75 million overall amount, but that the Habs wouldn't get them there. So you heard me say I thought that they would get him to maybe 70, but this was pretty close. And I hit the term right on the head. I really had a feeling this was going to be an 8-year deal for Cole Caufield. I was right on the money there. And I'm actually pretty pleased with that. I came in relatively close on the money as well. And I did say that there would be a no trade on the back end of the deal. So, all right. I'm all right. I'm pretty happy with how that prediction worked out. So congratulations to Cole Caufield and his entire family. It's an exciting time in Montreal, and I think everyone is looking forward to seeing what a newly signed Cole Caufield is going to do this coming season. I also told you at the beginning of the show that you should stick around because there was a bit of a channel update. Well, here it is. If you are a subscriber, you'll have already kind of gotten a sneak peek of this. If you are new to the channel, then you might not know that this is not now the only show that we have here on Habs Hockey Report. This show will continue to air every Thursday, all year long, off season, during the season, you name it. But we have now added, I've spoken many times about our flagship podcast, Canadiens Connection, which has been around for years now. Excellent podcast. And now, if you do not already subscribe to that podcast on your favorite podcast platform, you will now be able to listen to the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on YouTube. We have added it. If you go to our channel, youtube.com/allhabs, you'll see there is a podcast tab now, and the podcast comes out every Saturday on podcast platforms. It will then appear here on YouTube in full on Mondays. So if you prefer to listen to podcasts or want to watch, kind of what's going on with the podcast on YouTube instead of listening on a podcast platform, you'll be able to do that right here. We've kind of given you a sneak peek of that over the past week. On the Canadiens Connection podcast for the past 3 weeks, we've been doing a draft series of interviews leading up to the NHL draft. And we've had a number of draft experts and analysts on the show for the past 3 weeks, talking about that number 5 overall pick for the Montreal Canadiens, as well as what they could do with Florida's pick, which is now going to be probably either 31 or 32 in the first round. We've had some really exceptional guests. They all have different opinions. We've had Russ Cohen at Sportsology. You can hear him on Sirius XM NHL Radio and also read his articles at EP Rinkside. But he is a prospect expert and draft analyst. We had him on the show. We had Sportsnet and NHL Network's own Sam Cosentino on the show 2 weeks ago. Sam is a frequent recurring guest for us at Canadiens Connection. He came on to give us his expert opinion. And then just this past week, Jerome Berube, the director of scouting at hockeyprospect.com, that NHL draft black book that gets put out every year. Well, their director of scouting, Jerome Berube, joined us on the Canadiens Connection podcast last week. And so all 3 of those interviews have been published here on the channel. Just those excerpts, not the full podcasts, but just the interview portions of those podcasts with those 3 guests. I highly encourage you to check those out. I'm going to leave the link for those down below in the description. But be sure, if you want this to be the place to get all of your Habs related news, whether it's the Canadiens Connection podcast or, of course, Habs Hockey Report, the show you've come to know and love the last 15 months or so, then hit that subscribe button down below. Tap the notification bell so that you always know when a new episode of Canadiens Connection or Habs Hockey Report comes out. And hey, if you could do us a favor, because we've had dozens of new subscribers just in the last week alone, smash that like button as well. That tells YouTube that you really like the kind of content we're putting out, and it just helps us to grow this channel more and more as we have even more exciting things coming your way this summer. Now, we saw Danny Briere made the first big blockbuster trade of the offseason, 3-team trade between the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the LA Kings. But there's also speculation that Carter Hart is now actively being shopped, that Danny Briere is out there trying to make a deal for Carter Hart. And wow, that's something that we also talked about here on the show when that speculation first came out a number of months ago. And I had some pretty strong opinions on why Montreal is not the place for Carter Hart to end up if he moves on from Philadelphia. So you can watch my opinions on that right here in this video, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode.